Here we are. Hello again, it's Miss Havisham. I'm at St Lawrence's Church at Eyam in Derbyshire. Just going to have a walk around. Eyam is the plague village, so most of the population was wiped out in the plague in 1666, which of course was an important year. Fire of London as well, and of course that number is significant. So I'm just going to have a walk along, see what we can find. Lots of old graves here, of course, as this dates from really Norman times. And there's an old Celtic cross there. That's the old Celtic cross. We'll get a close up in a minute. An interesting old tomb here. Of course, that doesn't just mean death. It means it's a symbol of a secret society. Notice this one, with the all-seeing guy at the top. All-seeing guy. Wow, look at that. $1850. Once again, I'm proving that the living longer myth, we're not living longer. These people were living just as long in these years. This one is 1851. And this person was 73. And the wife was 80. 1865. So this proves my theory, we are not living longer. We're just being told that. It is quite a large churchyard actually. So we won't be able to cover everything. So in 1665, the new parson had just arrived. The previous one, who was called Stanley, had been sacked basically. It was the time of the rebellion, and the new parson, William Mompesson, was a Puritan, and he was on the side of Oliver Cromwell. So the previous vicar was for the king, so they wanted to get rid of him, and he was thrown out basically of the vicarage. William Mompesson was unpopular with the villagers, and I think he tried to gain popularity when the plague arrived. I'm just looking at this Celtic Cross first. See how this ground has sunk. This is a sign that people are buried here. Some of these graveyards, as we found, the grass is so level that it doesn't look as if anyone is buried there. It's more like a film set, but in this case the ground has sunk, so there are people here under the grass. This is the Celtic Cross, 8th century AD, if we believe the narrative. Right, another one. 82 years, 88 years. This is the memorial to the Reverend Thomas Stanley, who supported William Mompesson during the plague time. So Stanley was the person who was thrown out of the vicarage just before Mompesson arrived. But then, once the plague got underway, because Mompesson was unpopular, he asked Stanley to come back to help him, to support him to get the villagers to basically agree to barricade themselves into the village to stop the plague from spreading outside the village. And so this is what Thomas Stanley did. He actually agreed to meet Mompesson, and they had a meeting and decided this is what they were going to do. And they did persuade the villagers to do that, which actually I don't believe. I don't believe the narrative. I don't believe that people would do that. The villagers wanted to run away, apparently, and escape to nearby Sheffield. And they were persuaded not to stay. They were persuaded to stay to prevent the plague from spreading to outlying areas. I don't believe that they would have agreed to that voluntarily. I think they were forced to stay, basically. I don't think that human nature would do that. That's an awesome down. Apparently 260 villagers died in Eyam of the plague, including William Mompesson's wife Catherine. So apparently she had been nursing the villagers who were suffering from the plague, the Black Death. So the vicar's wife, who had come in to support Oliver Cromwell, being a Puritan, his wife was nursing the sick villagers who got plague. So I find it hard to believe, because I don't see that a woman of that class would be nursing poor villagers with a deadly disease. I just don't believe that. But that's what we're told. Anyway, she did die from plague. So I suppose that made her seem as if she'd sacrificed her own life for the villagers. So she may have died of something else, but the story is that she died of plague through nursing sick villagers. So I'm just going to find where her grave is. It's somewhere around here. This looks like the War Memorial. Yeah. The total number of villagers in Eyam at that time, in 1665, the estimate of population goes anything between 350 and 800. There isn't a definite figure. But 260 actually did perish. The plague was actually brought in via a bolt of cloth that the local tailor had ordered from London. This was sent up from London because apparently the story goes he was going to make some clothes for villagers for the Wakes Weeks, which was a religious festival at the time, and then the villagers had new clothes. It's a bit like it became Whitsuntide when I was a child. We used to have Whitsuntide and the children used to have new clothes and, you know, went out to the neighbours to show the new clothes off. Apparently this was happening back then. And this is why I ordered the cloth from London. It just sounds a tall story. The cloth when it arrived was damp, it had got some fleas in it, and when the tailor's assistant actually put the cloth in front of the fire to dry, the fleas became active again, and that's how the fleas from the cloth spread the plague to the village of Eyam. That's the story. So it does seem that something did occur, but how it occurred, I don't believe that is a true story. And I don't believe that these people sacrificed themselves to save the plague from spreading around. I think they were prevented from leaving. Apparently food was left out just outside the village so that they wouldn't starve to death. Food was left outside, and they would leave money in a container of water with vinegar, and the money was put in the water with the vinegar, and this was supposed to stop the germs from the plague being on the money. So where did the money come from? So people left them food. Apparently the Earl of Devonshire, nearby Chatsworth House, promised to send them food if they did also agree not to leave the village. So people were going to feed them, but they wouldn't need the food for very long because the plague killed them within hours or days. So they wouldn't have needed much food anyway. They would have been so ill that they wouldn't have even wanted to eat any food. So the story doesn't tally up at all. It is really interesting. It's a really nice place. There are old lead mines around this area. There was an earthquake in 1755, on the 1st of November 1755. This earthquake spread all the way from Portugal, where it killed many people. Many people who were in churches worshipping were actually killed. The church just collapsed on top of them, and there were many hundreds of thousands were killed in Portugal. That spread across to Marrakesh in Morocco as well, this violent earthquake, and the effects of it were felt all the way here in Eyam, in the lead mines. The miners in the lead mines could actually feel that earthquake here in Eyam, and that was on the 1st of November 1755. It was a really strong earthquake, and many hundreds of thousands died across Europe and even in North Africa. So that does have a connection with Eyam, because the rumblings were felt here in the lead mines in Eyam. They're now no longer in use, of course. See a couple of gargoyles up at the top. This ground is really uneven. So I'm walking over graves actually, because it is very uneven. Nice autumn day again. It's a good time to come around somewhere like this, just before Halloween actually. Nice old tree there. This man was an author. The author of the History and Antiquities of Eyam, Tales and Traditions of the Peaks. Men, but like visions are, time all doth claim. He lives who dies, and he leaves a lasting name. Some people don't. Many don't, I'm afraid. The wife of the author was 77 when she died in 1886. These are former rectors of the parish. That one was 78. This one is an old one. Vicar of Doncaster. Previously. Canon of York, it says. Blessed are the dead which die in the Lord, even so saith the Spirit, for they rise from their labours, or rest from their labours. See if I can find the tomb of Catherine Mompesson. I've seen it before. I think it's round here. I think it's this way. And this is the tomb of Catherine Mompesson, the wife of the vicar, who died August 25th, 1666. And of course she had the big tomb, but the ordinary paupers were thrown into pits of lime. So, even in death we're not equal. This is an old one.